Today I'd like to show how to replace a thermostat for baseboard heat on a 4-wire system, non-programmable, Honeywell. I'll put a link in the description. Amazon. Instruction manual. 4-wire. Here's the unit I'll be replacing. It functions perfectly, but I recently gave the home a fresh coat of paint and this looks old, tired, and dated. I've already removed this one from the wall to do some painting. However, this would be tight against the wall, and you just remove this outer cover like such. And there'll be a screw on top and bottom. Remove them and then it will hang like this. Now this is still powered up because I'm actually using the heat when I was doing the job. So I'll show how to turn the breaker off. So I've got this nifty little tool from Flange, and it detects power without breaking the skin on the wire. So I'll go down to the breaker panel and keep flipping 220 breakers until this stops beeping. The only other way is you just turn them all off. Come up here and check power, or turn it off and check to see if the heat's off on the floor. However, we got to get power off. Now we'll study the wiring. So far, now some of them got paint on it, but that's a black wire, white, black. So we need to determine which wire is coming from the breaker and which wire is going out to the heater. So we want to double check. Power's off. Every wire, no power. So now it's safe to remove these wire nuts. You can diagnose it right here to see what wires go to the heater and what comes from the breaker panel. However, I'm going to simplify it. It's the easiest way to determine what's going on. So first we remove all the caps. Separate each one like such, and we'll put a wire nut on each one to make it extra safe. Nobody gets shocked. Okay? Oh wow, that one went right through. Let me start that over. Take two.
Take 2 and 2, 1.
So now we go back down and turn the breaker on. This time I'll show that. A lot of times when I'm making videos, I'm not real thorough because I feel like you already know some of this stuff. So I'm going to be a little bit more thorough, and I'll add chapters in the video in case you're more advanced. This is what they call a double pole breaker, meaning when you turn it on, it's applying power to 2 different wires, all in one movement, and these are singles. So there's 120 volts here, 120 volts here, 2 different wires equaling 240 volts. So we'll power up the tester. And what we're trying to determine which 2 wires have power and which 2 do not. And you can touch the wires at this point as long as there's no fraying in the wire and the caps. However, if you're using a multimeter, these caps need to be removed to do the test, and you would need a ground and then the other touching the hot. Power. This is the 2 wires coming from the breaker below. No power here. These feed the baseboard heater. So now it makes it much easier to hook up. However, we need to turn that breaker back off. So I've got the breaker off. Make sure you got the right breaker. No power anywhere. Of course, these wouldn't have. So we know the 2 top ones have power and these go to the heater. Let's go look at the controller. So the reason I'm using the terminology 240 volts, that's what's labeled here on the unit. So instead of using electrical jargon like L1, T1, T2, all that nonsense, I'm going to use top and bottom. And I'm going to have it where this is the way the box would be mounted on the wall. So this would be power coming in from the breaker panel, and these two feed the baseboard heater. Color does not matter. 120 volt on each leg. And right now, this is in the off position, and that's the only difference between a 4-wire and a 2-wire system. It gives you this off feature where a 2-wire would be down around 40. So if the home goes below 40 degrees, it kicks on. The only way to turn off a 2-wire system is turn the breaker off. So with that at the off position, when you apply 120 volts on each leg, it stops here because it's off. Now let's turn it all the way up to guarantee it comes on. This switch engages these two load wires that feed the heater. You got 120 on this one and 120 on this one, feeding the baseboard heater. And I'm going to share another theory that I don't think is very safe, but that's the simplest form. So the other thing they do is, even though that's in the off position, and only turns off one side of power. In other words, this one's still connected. It's always connected. 120 feeding the heater. This one is off until you turn the dial to on. And I'm not sure why they do that. However, the heater will not operate until it receives 240 volts. The reason I don't like it is somebody wants to work on the heater. They turn this off. They're like, hey, there's no power on that heating system, when in reality there's 120 volts on one side. Here's the orientation. These are already pre-stripped. We got the wire nuts. Pull them off. Top goes to power coming from the breaker. This is a solid wire and this is frayed. So what I do is I wrap it. I'll show you in a minute. With frayed wire, I wrap it once and have this protruding, the solid wire, just a little bit, because when you put a wire nut on, it can push the frayed down. Make sure you have no frayeds sticking outward. Nut on and let it screw on by itself. Let it pull right on. Now if you had frayed wire sticking out there, it can push the frayed wire out. So after it's tight, hold the cap and pull on each wire. If it doesn't pull out, you're good. Get that nice and clean. Line them up nice and straight. See how that protrudes a little? Wrap once. No frays sticking out, wire nut. Nice. Check each wire. So that's the top set. Now we do the bottom. Another thing you want to check is that wire is pretty long. It cannot exceed the wire nut because you'll have bare wire showing. So I'll trim that just a little bit. Nice. You want the tip as pointy as possible so the nut screws right on. Alright, I'll jump to the hookup. Do the same thing as you did prior. Everything's hooked up. The ground was always hooked up. We'll check that. Forgot to show you the ground. The ground wire. You know what? I see no grounding lug. However, I guess 240 volt doesn't require it. So I just connect them here. Huh. Oh! Okay, now I figured out the ground. One ground is coming from the breaker panel and the other ground is going to the heater. So it is grounded. Thank you. So, We'll pop this off. You just push here in the center and pull in the back. Nice. 2 mounting screws. We'll tuck them wires in. Now, the first thing I do is get this ground as far back in the box as you can get it. And you can use needle nose to do that since it's just bare wire. Don't hit other wires, of course. Accordion style is the best way to get wires to fold in and out of your road. And I get the majority out of my way. It makes it so much easier. Also, you can circle them like that and push them in. I get it started a little bit and then do the bottom. Level it up. Nice. Touch up with paint. Install the beauty cap. Let's turn the breaker on. Power on. It clicked to on. Sometimes you'll hear a click when it calls for heat. Right there. So it's about 68 degrees in here. Let's see if you can hear that. So that click means it's sending power to the heater. Oh yeah. Nice and warm. So I've got a quick update. I did some electrical testing out of curiosity. When this is off, there is no power being sent to the heater. If you turn it on, 120 volts is live at the heater. Of course, the heater won't turn on. It needs 240 volts. So you have to turn this all the way up till you hear it click. Then the other 120 leg is activated, so you got 240 volts. Now it's heating. So I just wanted to point that out. I don't want to spread misinformation, as they say. Thank you. I'd like to thank everyone for watching. Hope this has helped someone. And if you'd like to watch other home improvement videos, I'll provide a link